On November 12th and 13th, CATA will host a national forum looking at cybersecurity. One of the issues that we'll be discussing during that forum is cyber terrorism. One of the panelists for this forum will be Bob Corson, who is Director of Cybersecurity for Trend Micro.
There that grabs a number of different themes. You can think of it right from the nation-state level, where one nation-state may decide that it wants some information or insight on another, to it may be that nation-state or components of that nation-state may want trade secrets that are associated with a private organization, to getting even lower, where there may be folks of a criminal nature that have no direct connection or loose connections with a nation-state, where they are trying intellectual property information or data for purposes of fraud or resale of that data for criminal purposes, then down to even a lower level where it is more of just of a pure criminal nature. So there are a lot of different possibilities and activities there.
Now, are you seeing, because obviously, you know, there, in terms of cyber terrorism and some of the things that we've seen through media and, you know, entertainment, I mean, even for those that are, you know, fans of 24, the recent installment of 24 was really focused around, you know, a militant, you know, group taking over use of government drones. But sometimes cyber terrorism isn't that grand or that, you know, of that magnitude. What are you seeing or hearing from some of the clients in terms of some of the things that they're concerned with in terms of protecting their information and data?
Well, the key theme that resonates consistently across customers, no matter what industry or location on the globe, it's all about visibility into what is happening on their networks. Because the world we live in has advanced so quickly and made you know, so many changes, the you know, conceptual framework that you are secure on your network and what is on your network is yours has really started to fall by the wayside. Because despite the, you know, footprint in terms of security protection that organizations have put in place now, if somebody wants to get in, it's analogous to your home. You probably have a house alarm or a monitoring system, but if somebody wants to get into your house, they're gonna get in, and it's the exact same logic that holds as far as whether they be nation states, private sector organizations, research organizations, government organizations, etc. If somebody wants to get into that network and either, you know, view communications, access data, intellectual property, they're going to do so, which then reinforces the whole need of establishing visibility into these new types of attack methods that in many cases haven't been seen before, so that whether you're a nation state, you're a private sector organization, a public sector organization, you can identify that this is happening and then take action accordingly, versus finding out about it months, in some cases years later.
Now, in terms of those that are the hacks that take place, or the acts of cyber terrorism, you know, one of the things that you and I commented before we kind of started this broadcast was, you know, some of them, as you said, are large nation states, but other times terrorists or the objective isn't necessarily to destroy or disrupt. Sometimes the objective is to push the message or the propaganda. And I think one of the things that we referenced was, you know, when the Syrian overuse of the New York Times and Huffington Post for a series of hours, really, which was just to get their messages out. Are those incidents just as dangerous as the large, you know, grander scale terrorist acts that you're seeing, or that we've talked about in the past?
So I guess, like anything, that there's a yes and no answer, and that it all depends on context. Because ultimately what it boils down to is the information that in this particular case with the Huffington Post or another media outlet, what they're trying to do is to, you know, change reality to suit their purposes for propaganda, etc. But you can very easily understand scenarios where that can take on, you know, a higher level, where it may be anything to do with not just media, but if there happen to be, you know, threat alerts, financial information, all kinds of different scenarios where, given we're now in an electronic world, a third party can get in, alter that information to suit their purposes in order to then create downstream effects because those that are then viewing that if you will, remanufactured information are then making decisions assuming that it's real. So it's really, in this particular case, if you will, it's about creating misinformation in order to support an outcome. So to directly answer your question, do we see that? Without question. Do we think that it's going to increase in prevalence? Without question. And I think when you look at the whole cybersecurity landscape, especially over the last few years, when you've started to see the sophistication of the attacks increase in terms of the types of groups that are doing it, the types of initiatives and means and methods that they use, it will continue to escalate, and this problem, unfortunately, is going to get worse before it gets better.
Now, in terms of as you said, if the same analogy as the house, if they want to get in, they can get in. Is it also an education process that involves, it's not just the internal security of your infrastructure that you need to be looking at, but also all of the other organizations that you do business with, anyone else who touches your network or your organization? Can they be a kind of a tool or instrument for getting in?
Absolutely, and there's a number of frameworks that are used to describe that. A common one is the concept of island hopping, and we actually saw that we're all familiar with the news around the attack with Target, where and the attackers used Target's heating and ventilation contractor. They breached their network first, and then used that network as a way of getting into Target. So, quick answer is absolutely yes. And there's a bunch of reasons behind that, and that if you can get into a network where there's either an establishment of trust, that you recognize that, in this particular case, IP address, and therefore may be more inclined to trust traffic associated with it, but also where the attackers infrastructure that's known to be used for criminal or nefarious purposes, they're going to try an island hop. So we've seen cases with attacks where they'll come in from colleges, universities, or research organizations, from your partners, suppliers, customers. There's all kinds of different angles that is intentionally planned. And the key thing to keep in mind in these types of attacks is they're purposely designed. The attackers do advanced reconnaissance, they plan out their means and methods, they test, and then they execute. These are not kind of fly-by-night instant decisions. They call them targeted attacks for a reason, because they are so well planned out.
Well, Bob, I think we're all looking forward to what you're going to be able to actually, items like this that are going to be discussed and a lot more at the forum. So thank you very much for your time, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much, Katherine.
Thank you.